Welcome to our channel Popcorn Perspectives. Today we are going to review Perfect Sense. Michael functions as a culinary expert in an upmarket cafe. He jokes around with his collaborators in the kitchen and has casual hookups with ladies. One of the indications of his issue with connections is that he can't rest on the off chance that any other person is in the bed. In the meantime, Susan is a cold disease transmission expert, and appears to go for a stroll on the ocean front with her sister Jenny. It turns out she has of late had a separation and is struggling with adapting to it. To deliver her aggravation, she begins tossing rocks at seagulls. Who lives in a structure close to the eatery. She lacks the capacity to deal with dating. However, in the long run, Susan lets her watchman down, and these two social gathering. Next scene, Michael shows up at cafe and had numerous clients to serve, making assortment of dishes. He is incredibly occupied with his work. Susan and the specialists who work at her research facility are a close-to-home puzzled by a man breakdown and delve into despair. Then something peculiar happened to him, he lost his feeling of smell. Before long, reports are spilling in from around the world about a pandemic of profound emergencies followed by a deficiency of smell. Researchers don't know whether this is being brought about by poisons, the climate, or psychological oppressors. The puzzling illness is named serious olfactory disorder, S.O.S. Next morning, Susan smoking from the window she saw Michael is on indirect access to his cafe. Michael energetically requests cigarette to Susan. She throws one cigarette to him. Before long, reports are gushing in from around the world about a pandemic of profound emergencies followed by a deficiency of smell. Researchers don't know whether this is being brought about by poisons, the climate, or psychological oppressors. The secretive illness is named serious olfactory disorder, S.O.S. Address the issue in the news, guaranteeing individuals that researcher is examining what is happening. There's a compelling reason need to overreact. Notwithstanding the broad apprehension, individuals go to work and carry on their day-to-day routines overall quite well. The people who are going out wear cover to safeguard themselves. One night, Michael eatery less clients so stuffs leaving early, Michael smoking external. He saw Susan retuned from work, he visit with her before he welcomes her for supper. Michael prepares Susan dinner, however amidst eating, she is overwhelmed by despondency. Toward the end, Michael gives his extraordinary dishes which truly intrigued Susan. Nonetheless, while partaking in the dinner, abruptly she was overwhelmed by despondency. She begins crying. She specifies that she recollect her late dad and can't stop contemplate him. To comfort her, he brings her back home and goes through the evening. Before breakfast, they have both lost their feeling of smell. Afterward, in the city, they are hypnotized by an imaginative violin player who has molded a little show certifying the limit of everybody to live with just 4 faculties despite everything tracked down wonder in nature and somewhere else. As the infection advances, it takes out the faculties, individually. Susan is overwhelmed by fear in a parking structure and a lady offers comfort. Then, moved by hunger, they gobble up whatever is in sight or reach. Susan eats the blossoms the lady has purchased, and her sidekick scarfs down her lipstick. At the cafe, Michael and different gourmet specialists are up to speed in a similar condition, which closes with a lost feeling of taste. Attempting to get by and manage in this horrible air is a genuine test. Susan and Michael go to the feeling of touch in having intercourse more than once. At work, the surface instead of the flavor of food is underlined. Michael battled to nod off even he is distant from everyone else on the bed. The next day he went to visit his life partner's grave at the burial ground and experiences her folks, who censured him to not bring flowers for their little girl. The confusion, brutality, and danger heighten in Glasgow and in urban areas across the world. Susan moves in with Michael yet is driven away when he ejects into a contemptuous and blistering boisterous ambush on her prior to going hard of hearing. He and others who can never again hear are requested to remain in their homes where it is protected. In the city, the resentment of residents has prompted killing binges and plundering. A couple of courageous people are planning for the following misfortune, bringing about visual impairment. Susan clears up for Michael little, and tests are associated, she doesn't know whether their different scenes are unaffected. The following scene: when Michael arrived at the eatery, his supervisor illuminates him, "They won't be open these days because of absence of clients. Individuals purchase just flour and fat on this day since they can't taste food." Days after the fact, Lab got a video call from Thailand, where a researcher castigates another side effect, angry outbursts followed by loss of hearing. They move in Michael's loft, for leaving together, he changes his disposition and, responding adversely, begin offending her, obnoxiously mishandling her. Then he begins tossing around the house, deprecating Susan. At long last Susan chose to leave. Tumultuous road individuals are yelling for help. After Michael saw he lost the meeting, mentioned to remain at home. Susan heads sister's loft since this is the main safe spot for her in the city. Individuals start utilizing site dialects and begin to get ready for next misfortune. Be that as it may, Michael's eatery returns. Clients use lights to arrange, even bars use recurrence, and it's shocked to find individuals actually getting a charge out of. Individuals center around visual encounters like perusing, getting tattoos, artistic creations, dusk. Most invest energy with their families. Chief David has made an incredibly successful, prophetically catastrophic science fiction thrill ride that basically is a wonderful romantic tale. As the world dives endlessly further into catastrophe, the screenplay by Kim Phupps Akison draws a globule on the requirement for all survivors to have someone to rest on for adoration and boldness and backing. The portrayal of this thrill ride gives a melodious clarification to what's going on to individuals impacted by the pandemic. However, it doesn't slight the secret at the core of the fiasco. Finally they met, both are glad to see each other after quite a while, as they walk each other toss haziness inundate them. Perfect Sense is a profoundly otherworldly film that moves us to be completely alive to the report of our faculties and to live right now, which won't ever show up from this point onward. To get more movie reviews, don't forget to subscribe our channel.